How's it going, everyone? This is Zack Vucurevich with Whetstone Habitat. I'm doing something a little bit different this week. Instead of writing an article for Whetstone Weekly, I was going to try to put a video together for you. So it's already taken a little longer than I was hoping it would, but we'll see how this goes. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, please like it and share it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Always trying to grow my different platforms for being able to reach more people. So if you enjoy this one, please subscribe, share Whetstone Weekly. Trying to grow that thing as well. So the topic I wanted to cover today was whitetail bachelor groups. I wanted to go over kind of why do they form, what do we need to know as hunters to be able to take advantage of this behavioral trait of whitetails, and why do they break up later on in the year. So just kind of talking a little bit of whitetail behavior, biology, physiology. We'll dabble in all of this today. So we'll see how this goes. And if you like it, again, please let me know, and I'll do more of these video series like this. So let's get started. All right. So what is a buck bachelor group? It's a group of 2 or more bucks feeding, bedding, or traveling together. So it's important to keep in mind that these groups they're flexible, they're not fixed. So you might see a buck join a group, leave a group. You might see a couple of them swap out. You might see 2 groups merge together for a day or so. The age classes may vary. They're not securely structured. So it's a right time, right place, kind of group by association type deal. They're fairly gregarious this time of year. Most other times of the whitetail season, the bucks are more solitary. So there's still some subtle dominance playing out in those relationships. Typically the bigger, more mature deer are gonna kind of have their way with the younger ones. I've kind of noticed at first light early in the season, oftentimes it's those younger bucks entering a field before that more mature buck who's kind of standing back in the woodlot. But they're still, I would consider them still in the same group, even if those younger bucks are travel out into the field sooner than the mature ones. All right, so these bucks are in velvet while they're in these bachelor groups. It's important to keep in mind that they're growing these weapons right now. They're going to eventually use them, but they're not prepared hormonally to or motivated to use them. They got really, again, I'm going to keep talking about this, low T. They have low T, which allows them to, put up with the proximity to each other this time of year. So what is velvet? It's the vascular tissue growing around the antler, supplies all the nutrients and oxygen to that structure as it's growing so fast. This is the fastest time of year, middle of July, as those antlers are growing. So those antlers, the velvet, it do contain nerve endings. They are sensitive, so that's why you'll see bucks when they're sticking their nose in a feeder or going around under a fence. They're really kind of ginger with that headgear. They want to get up underneath it without damaging it, because it will bleed, and it will bleed profusely, and then they can get infections, they can get bot flies, all sorts of bad deals if they injure that velvet. So they take really good care of it. You might see some minor sparring, but they're not really, tearing each other up. They're just kind of posturing toward each other this time of year. So the hormonal window for this social tolerance amongst bucks is dictated by day length. So as summer progresses, the day length shrinks. We're getting shorter days, and that triggers the buck's endocrine system to start pumping out more testosterone. That testosterone is going to trigger those antlers to harden. As those antlers harden, the velvet starts to dry up, and those bucks will rub it off, and there goes your bachelor groups. The bucks, once they shed their velvet, typically have a much lower tolerance for being social with other bucks. So if you want to kill a whitetail in early season before he sheds the velvet is really the time to do it. So why are they grouping up? I think it's mostly a safety and numbers thing. More eyeballs, more ears. Again, their antlers are sensitive. They're not hard. They're not a very good defense, weapon, if you want to call it that. So they're vulnerable this time of year. More eyeballs around, more ears, more predator detection. I think it's really that simple. So You add the factor that they don't have those hard antlers on them like this guy does to defend themselves. Plus the fact that their testosterone levels are low, increases, kind of a social cohesion amongst these deer. The other thing to keep in mind, they're kind of competing over the same resources. So there's going to be preferred feeding areas that these bucks are trying to get to. They want, nutrient rich food sources. Might be a soybean field if you're in the Midwest or ag country. Might be a timber harvest if you're in like a woodlot or heavily wooded area, or it might be something like a kudzu patch if you're in a more urban environment. So there's going to be certain areas that are going to be providing the nutrients and resources that those bucks need. And they all kind of need the same resources at the same time of year. So some of these bachelor groups might just be association by, having similar needs. Not so much that they're super eager to be around each other. It's more that they'll tolerate being around each other this time of year. I wanted to talk real quick about doe family groups. This part's more speculation on my end than something I've studied, but observationally, it really feels to me like knowing that those doe family groups are so territorial, it really makes sense that those buck bachelor groups would stand a better chance of being able to utilize a food resource. I know you guys have all been in the deer stand when your buck's starting to come out and gets run off by a doe, an angry doe, or a couple of does that can really dominate, especially early season, dominate the landscape. But think of 3 or 4 or 5 bucks rolling into that same field. Those few does are going to have a harder time pushing those bucks out. So I haven't seen any literature to support this, but I've always kind of felt that the safety in numbers thing isn't just for, preventing predation. It's also for holding their own against the females in the population. All right, so early on in the deer season, you might be targeting one particular buck, but I want you guys to approach this as if you're hunting that bachelor group. I know I said they kind of change members on a whim here and there, but for the most part, if you see a bachelor group utilizing one field the night before season opens, so long as you didn't screw anything up, it's a pretty safe bet they're going to be entering that field somewhere near the same spot, or at least getting into the same field the next night. So they're very predictable. I'm going to keep talking about predictability this time of year. So long as you don't screw anything up, they're going to repeat their movements most of the time. So Kentucky, I think we have a September 5th archery opener. Don't quote me on that, but that sounds right. They have Tennessee has an early, I think it's the last weekend of August. They have an early private lands velvet hunt. Some WMAs, I think you're allowed to archery hunt. But that's the time to do it. Like I said, once they start casting their antlers, going hard-horned, it's much harder to dial in and figure out where those deer are. When I'm hunting my farm this time of year, so my last 2 bucks I took off of our farm in Kentucky were both in velvet. Both of them they're a couple hundred yards apart, probably 400 yards apart where I shot those 2 deer, but both of them, I had patterned them. One of them, late morning actually, was when this one buck was coming into this field. This was 3 or 4 years back. When I killed Bender, it was the name of that deer. Bender would show up at like 9:30, 10 a.m. It was the weirdest thing. The same, there's an old home site on the property, and on the back side of that home site, this deer was showing up every morning, late morning. This past season, I knew in the evening, late, last 30 minutes daylight. I knew the buck I got last year had been frequenting one of these cutback borders I made. I kind of created a funnel or a pinch point heading from pretty good north facing, early season bedding to our destination food plot. And I sat there, I think it was night 2 last year of archery season, and ended up having, I I think there's 6 or 7 bucks came out, and the one that I was after was one of the last ones to come out, but he gave me a perfect broadside shot at like 26 yards. So that happened 15 minutes before dark. But again, I was expecting him to come out there. It's not, he had been on camera the day before. Same thing with Bender. Bender was there the morning before around the same time. It's not like sitting over a scrape in the middle of October, just crossing your fingers, hoping that that buck shows up and works that scrape again. You have data behind it. It's not as sporadic as those licking branch visits. You have very actionable data to work on here. So I don't like dealing with the deer after getting them down because the velvet's always covered in tiny little ticks and stuff. But in terms of getting your target animal on the ground, this is the time of year to do it. So I hope you guys like this video series. If you have any questions about whitetail or bachelor groups or habitat or hunting or anything, don't hesitate to reach out. If you enjoyed this series, let me know, comment on this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll do more of these, and hopefully I'll get a little better at it as we go. So that's all we have for Whetstone Weekly this week. If you're in the market for a recreational hunting track in the state of Tennessee, contact me. I got a couple good listings right now if you're looking to sell. I'm always looking for more listings in Tennessee. So hope you're all doing great. Hope you guys are having a great week, and we'll catch up next week.